Ay, 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 new camera, new problems, but honey, you're not dreaming. Veronica is back. It's really me, and I am really uploading to this channel. Welcome back. I'm so happy to be here, but I also feel super rusty, crusty, like an old grandma joining some new platform. It feels so new to me now, so cut me some slack if I get too tangled in today's topic. You know why. I have my notes ready and I hope I'm gonna hit them all because this has been a topic that I've been philosophing on for a long time. Let's just not put years on it because I lost track even what day and year is today. No idea, but we're gonna get to the topic right now. I stand by the statement that every woman needs an alpha male. But there's a little twist here. The alpha is not the same kind of alpha for every woman out there. Now, what do I mean by that? As you know, every woman is different. I don't need to tell you that from psychology, biology, background, upbringing, blah, blah, blah. Everyone is so different. So that's why everybody needs such a different level of alpha. For, let's say, let's just go to extremes. So we have a scale. Let's say here is a super independent alpha woman. She wants to do everything herself and doesn't need a man. She's the boss bitch at all times, blah, blah, blah. On this side, on the other hand, we have the super submissive, super, you want to say sweet, but sometimes those sweet ones can be serial killers too, you know? Super sweet traditional woman that cannot really make decision herself, wants to follow a man. She just wants somebody to lead and just doesn't want to really make a huge hard decision on her own or have too much authority in a relationship. Now, there is really nothing wrong with both because everybody's different and there is somebody for everybody. But this whole scale in between gives you so much variety of what women find to be alpha. I don't want to keep on having my hands like this, but let's just say super alpha, super submissive, and let's talk about it more deeply. Just like with everything, one man's trash can be other man's treasure. It applies to relationships, boyfriends, ex-husbands, and so on as well. What I can find as a totally amazing alpha male, another woman who is on a different position on the scale, she can find that man that I feel so amazing, she can find him as being toxically masculine. Toxic masculinity, that seems to be the word of these past few years. And on the other hand, what this possibly super submissive woman can find as a super alpha, to me, that guy can be a weak link. This guy is useless to me. This guy just doesn't have anything to do with alpha in my eyes, but in her eyes, he is the alpha. You know why? Because every woman is on a different level of alpha. I am not saying this is worse than this. I'm just showing you a scale where the level of alpha in a woman starts somewhere and probably doesn't end. But every level like this requires a different level of an alpha male to match. Why am I putting my hands like this? And I know I'm so animated at times, so maybe it would be better to have animation running around and just show you more, what's happening. But if you're following, then look at this. So if woman is alpha baseline here, she doesn't want an alpha, I'm putting it in quotation marks, here. He needs to be at least a little above. It doesn't have to be here, doesn't have to be here. It can just be a little bit above so she can feel like she can look up to the man. That's why I'm putting it up here. She can feel like she can rely on him. She can feel like he can support her. She can feel like she can lay back in her femininity and let the guy make some decisions or all. Let the guy to be the leader and not feel like she needs to lead the guy. So as a woman, you always look at least for a step up in your alpha game. For somebody, and let's go back, for example, for myself. So I can be alpha here. So like I said, for me, if the woman finds an alpha who is here, he's not alpha to me at all. I personally, my alpha has to be here. And that woman would find it super unattractive because that's such a huge jump from her alpha to here. That's why she would call him toxically masculine, because it's just too much. Just like for me, if I meet a guy who seems to be alpha in his ex-girlfriend's eyes, but to me, his alpha is right here, we just not gonna vibe. I'm gonna feel like I am dominating the relationship, I am bulldozing the relationship, I'm being the strong one. And that's not a healthy dynamic in a relationship, and that's not gonna make a relationship last very long, unless of course you can mold each other a little bit and compromise. But there is only so much compromise you can do in relationships. You cannot change a person 180. Yes, some traumas, things can happen in your life and people can change 180, but I would say that doesn't happen really often. And I would also say as you get older, it also gets harder to mold yourself in other people's dynamic situation. I believe that's also the case why as we get older it seems to be harder to find a match, because we already in our little stubborn era, we're not that moldable anymore. We used to maybe years ago, but once you step over 25, I feel like your brain is so developed comparing to years before that now you actually really know what you want. You trying to understand yourself better, and you wouldn't put up with the stuff that you put up before 25. Why do I say 25? Because I read some articles about the development of your brain, and after 25 it kind of just is becoming more and more solid. Not saying that you stop progressing and evolving as a person. I progress every day, hopefully you do too, because that's what life is all about. Getting better every day is the life's purpose. But overall, I can see even on myself that before 25, I made so many silly decisions. It's not even, oh my god, it wouldn't even fit in one book. It's just so stupid. Even when it comes to tattoos and making just decisions that impact your life, those decisions should not be made before the year 25. And everybody's different. I see stupid people even if they're 60s. So it really, age doesn't matter. But why am I even talking about this? Let's go back to the alpha thing, because this makes such a big difference. And I'm not saying one alpha is worse than the other. Everybody's just so different, and the dynamic is just not gonna work if you try to work here with this. You guys gotta meet somewhere. There has to be some kind of a piece of the puzzle that just fits. Yes, you can erase little borders and the edges, make it fit a little better. Like I said, you can mold yourself, you can compromise, and if you want to make something work, you will. Where is a will, there is a way. But don't expect to this and this to really go well together. It's just not gonna happen. It either takes too much effort or it's just really impossible. Being an alpha male doesn't have to be toxic. It doesn't have to be screamed. It doesn't have to be shouted at people. It shows. It's in people's essence, whether you're a woman or a man. Your strong personality, your alpha personality comes out as part of you. You don't have to beat people up at the bar, just like a good fighter doesn't have to pick up a fight at a random pub just because he needs to prove himself. Oh, he's the strongest guy at the town. Same with alpha. A real alpha male doesn't have to dominate over people. His presence speaks for itself. Just like for a strong woman, her presence, her standards speak for itself. Some of the alpha traits can be decisiveness, emotional control, strength, emotional strength, confidence, trustworthiness. More often than not, it's really more about the emotional strength and being there as the rock in a relationship for a woman instead of being the strongest guy in the city, because physical strength has nothing to do with being alpha. I met so many men that may physically look super strong, don't get me wrong. I would look at them and be like, wow, he really looks like a manly man. But then you start talking to him and this guy is like a teddy bear. I would probably bulldoze him because as an alpha female, just looking at him, he looks like he would be an alpha male and step up from my alpha femininity. But you know what? In real life, soft-spoken, charming, soft man just has nothing to do with the visage. So don't get confused by looks. I can also say from my personal experience, people may think that she looks cute and sweet, and then they talk to me and oh my gosh, she has an attitude, she is strong, she can lift, she has jokes. So again, I'm not, tooting my own horn. I'm just saying you cannot judge by the looks. Everybody's so different, and it's all about the essence and personality as a whole package. The more masculine energy a woman carries, the more masculine energy she's gonna crave. So this is what I was talking about with the step up. If you're a woman really shining up here, you need a guy to outshine you a little bit in the masculine energy. Otherwise, the relationship is just not gonna work in a long term. And it's gonna be more hustle than fun. And I cannot stress enough how important it is not to confuse this with dominance. In a lot of cultures, women are seen as something less. This is not what I mean in today's video at all. I see them meeting at the same point and just being the perfect puzzles for each other. And of course, there is no such thing as a perfect person for anybody or perfect relationships. There's always gonna be little cracks and problems that is gonna come up and are gonna need to be solved. But at the same time, you cannot go from this to this and expect a happy, healthy relationship. Something's gotta give, something's gonna mold, something's gotta compromise. And as a woman, especially if you're more in your alpha masculine energy, you don't wanna feel like you are submitting. You wanna feel like you surrendering to somebody that you can really trust and rely on. And I don't want to say being a mercy of, because I actually don't even know the exact translation in English for that, because it's not my first language. But I mean it like, wow, you can really look up to somebody because he can make such great decisions and you don't have to worry about it. Or he can drive better than you, or he can do certain activity better than you, and so on and so forth. So hopefully I'm making a little sense here. Now, when it comes to women that actually go for the softer man, meaning man that's more in his feminine energy, and there is nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it's bad or looking down upon it. I'm just saying some women may say that this is what they want. And you know what? Maybe in short term it works, but in long term, the polarity and the dynamics are just not gonna work. Sorry to say that, but unless you're really the female that is the male in the relationship, there needs to be your opposite. So if the woman is already molding herself in this male character in a relationship, expect your guy to be the woman. And you're gonna start calling him a you're gonna start kind of bossing him around, and you know what, maybe he likes it, maybe that's his fetish, this is how he grew up, he has some mama trauma, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's gonna work for them, but in general, the dynamic is just not healthy. And as we know, yin and yang, good and bad, female, male energy, masculine, feminine, it's always about a balance. You cannot have good without the bad. You cannot have healthy relationship based on super feminine energies without a masculine in there. So there has to be some kind of a healthy dynamic. An alpha woman doesn't want a weak man. She wants a man that's even stronger than her own strength, but kind enough to hold her soul. So question of you, what kind of energy you think you're giving off? Do you think you overly dominating as a woman? Do you think you overly too tamed as a man and maybe giving off the female energy instead? I would love to hear in the comments down below. Hopefully I'm making more sense, but as you guys know, and as I mentioned before, English is not my first language, so maybe some words get a little lost in the translation, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but sometimes the truth hurts, and sometimes you just have to look in the mirror and see what's really going on and why you may be attracting the men you attract, or as a man, why you attracting the kind of women you attract. Because your essence and your energy, your aura really matters, and depends what stage in life you are and how much you shine. The same amount of shine you're gonna magnetize to your life. If you're going through some trauma, you might as well be magnetizing somebody who's going through the same kind of energy shift. So look at your relationships, look at your past relationships, maybe see what went wrong, and learn. You know, that's what life is all about. We live and learn, and just because we make mistakes doesn't mean that it's a horrible life. It's a life that you are blessed to make these mistakes and learn from them. So I'll see you in my next video, and remember, every woman wants an alpha male, but every alpha means a different thing for different women. See you in the next one.